Yo, I'm Dylan Hughes. We're down here in Costa Mesa, California. We're at our race shop. This is actually not open to the public. This is just where we build and maintain our race cars for Formula Drift, grid life, and pretty much everything else in between. Let's go get under the hood. My motorsports career really started at Dirtfish Rally School in Washington simply because Dirtfish Rally School opened up their compound basically 5 minutes from my parents' house where I grew up in a small town called Snoqualmie, Washington. Worked there for a couple of years, and through the progression of motorsports, I ended up moving to the East Coast to work for Chris Forsberg Racing on his drift team at MA Motorsports. So that was my original reason for leaving the Pacific Northwest, was to go to the East Coast, work over there for 2.5 years, and then after that program dissolved over there, I went back to the Seattle area and actually went back to working at Dirtfish Rally School as a driving instructor for about 8-10 months. My goal was I wanted to figure out how to make money driving drift cars. If I can make this my full-time job and not just something that you do on the side, I realized that this was a possible dream if I worked at it hard enough and worked at it long enough and met the right people and was at the right place in the right time. So the drifting dream was, to me, all about traveling the world playing with race cars, like everybody's goal as a kid, right? I mean, I'd be like, oh wow, it'd be so cool to be able to travel around and drive race cars and mess around with your friends and travel the world and see everything. And that's exactly what we do. So walking in the back doors where you guys are kind of coming in right now, and as you cruise in, you can see there's several vehicles in here. So basically, to start the lineup, we have my Grid Life E36. So this is a car that I actually bought from one of my buddies in 2017 or so. I daily drove it for about 2.5-3 years. So now the engine setup that is in this thing, it's actually the original block and head that came out of the car, but we ended up doing a different crankshaft, rods and pistons, and all super tech in the cylinder head. So it's a 3-liter, 10-to-1 compression with a bottom mount Garrett G30 900 turbo on it with a Link plug and play ECU. We won the LZ World Tour in this event in Kern County last week. So moving on down the line, we have our turbo diesel E46 wagon. This is an OM606 engine. This is something that we wanted to build to basically show off Royal Purple's diesel oil. We hit up Luke Dale from Diesel Pump UK out of the UK, and he sent us a pretty badass motor. And this thing's been rocking for us. So this thing just got back from Japan. It was over there for about 6 months for the RSR Drift Festival. Right now, it has a special livery on it for our friend Charlotte DeWitte, who's a legendary Belgian DJ. And we ended up getting hooked up, and she wanted to fully wrap a car to have on display at Long Beach and to help her introduce her new song called Roar. And then she's playing at Coachella. In Go-Kart Corner here, we have a 1980s F2 car. There is an actual possibility that Ayrton Senna drove this exact car. So some guys say he's the best driver to ever walk this planet. To be able to sit behind the same steering wheel that Ayrton Senna did would be probably one of the craziest things ever. I might shed a tear if I got to do that. That'd be pretty cool. I think that our team is mostly known for, one, having a good time. I feel like our pit is always a good vibe. Everybody's always smiling. Kenan and Carlos are constantly harassing each other, and then me at the same time. And I think we're also known for having one of the cleanest cars on the grid, and we absolutely pride ourselves on that. You go and pop the hood on that competition car, or the 36, or the diesel, or the 2JZ NASCAR, all these cars are pretty well immaculate under the hood at any given time. And that's just the reputation that we want to keep up. There are some guys don't have their cars as clean, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not how we roll. You know, you're stoked to have people walk by and just their jaw drops when they've never seen an engine that looks like that, and that's what gets me stoked. So clean car, having a good time, I think that's definitely the two things we're known for. This is where the race car lives the most of the time. This is our Formula Drift Pro car, E46, 2005, 2JZ engine, about 950 wheel horsepower. This is our current competition car, and this one's my baby. This is the nicest of pretty much everything that you can get, whether it be transmission or diff or engine or parts or anything like that. We're super proud of this car, and I built this one and debuted it in 2020. My buddy Aaron Eusebi, his mom, who's a photographer for FD, his mom bought this specific car, brand new from BMW in 2005. So I drive out to their house, it's about an hour away in Riverside, and I get there, and I was like, all right, like this is it. This thing is clean, like I'm super down. And I'm like, all right, how much? And they were like, look, if you promise to turn this thing into a pro drift car, we'll give it to you for $1,000 bucks. It was about 7 months working on it every single day. through 2019 and 2020, and then we debuted it in 2020 for the partial season through the pandemic. 2JZ GTE VVTi head from Japan. This is a stock crank 3-liter motor. It's got CP Carrillo rods and pistons in it, 10-to-1 compression. This one's at a 86.5 mil bore on the block. We run SuperTech everything in the cylinder head, valves, springs, guides, retainers, everything in the head, and then the camshafts are Brian Crower. Garrett G40 1150 turbo. We run about 31 PSI through it. It makes right about 950 to the wheels. So this is an exhaust gas temperature probe that as the gas goes by out of the engine, it can read the temperature of it for each individual cylinder. Basically, it's just another tool through that Link ECU where we can make sure this thing is running absolutely as best it can possibly be, making the most amount of power it can. Reliability is 100% the most important part of the program, for sure. Let's check out the inside of this thing. I'm gonna hop in here and show you guys what's what real quick. So in Formula Drift, you have to have an all-around power kill from the outside of the car. So that's where this guy lives out here. We have to have this so that if I'm unconscious inside of the car and I'm just holding this thing on the rev limiter, they can flip it off from the outside. So I'm gonna reach here and I'm gonna flip this thing real quick. So that right there is your main power kill. So that's, now that I turn that on, that's gonna light up our Link ECU display here. And then when I click my ignition button, that's gonna cycle our fuel pumps and our water pump and basically give power to everything. Now it's ready to start. So sitting in here, we have pretty much everything aftermarket. There's no stock pedals in this thing. We run Tilton floor mounted pedals. We have an aftermarket Woodward manufacturing steering column with a Momo steering wheel. We have our Rad Industries billet handbrake, and this is our NASCAR Dogbox 4-speed transmission. So this is definitely, everything is heavily modified in here. Obviously you can see the cage, and then we paint everything with Steel-It coatings. Okay, so E46 chassis, I think this is an insanely awesome chassis, but I will say if I had to choose one downside from this thing, it's gonna be right here, and this is the rear subframe on this thing. It's actually a really small subframe with a massive differential in the center of it. So with all that 1,000 horsepower torque going through that diff, it's trying to twist it out of the car. And then when you have tracks like Orlando where you come off of the bank and you bash it off of the ground super hard, that's when it can be a little bit difficult on this subframe. And that's why we're allowed by the rules to be able to weld these plates in here to give this E46 just a little bit more support and keep this chassis from cracking. But believe it or not, I have these plates welded on all 4 of the attachment points of the subframe, and it still breaks and cracks stuff. So over the off season, that's one of our chores that we do, is we go through here, we weld up any cracks that we have, keep a real close eye on the back of this thing, because we're only allowed to support the back of the car so much, to the point where I wish we could do more per the rules, but we're always chasing cracks in the back of this thing. But let's be honest, 1,000 horsepower is not nice to anything on this car, so you can't hardly be mad at it, but we try and keep it nice and clean under here anyhow. So this is the help, dude. This is the help. We got
not actually an employee.
we got Carlos here. We got Carlos here. So this is the crew chief on the race program. This is the mastermind behind pretty much all of the cars. Keep him clean. He's absolutely the best. We love having him around. We got Big L, who's in from Portland. So he has a bunch of really nice camera equipment, and he's a legendary camera. He works for Formula 1 sometimes, no big deal. I'm gonna humble brag for you real quick. We got business partner Kinnan, manager, doer of all things, and then we got Elsbad here helping us out with some merchandise today. So without these guys and their equipment and their knowledge, this would absolutely not be possible. So it takes a team to make this whole crazy circus go around, but we're very lucky to all do it under one roof, and we get to work with pretty much our best friends, so we freaking love it.